Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerd started playing paintball in 1991. In 2025, he started Team Protocol. He's an entrepreneur, businessman. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Dan Bilzerian. Hey, Dan.
How's it going?
Good, man. So you started playing paintball in 1991. That was a few years before I started. So when did you become aware of tournament paintball?
Well, I think back then it was like, I want to say Iron Man and the All-Americans. I think that was kind of the thing. But where I played tournament paintball wasn't really like it wasn't a big deal. We were playing in the woods, we were playing with shop goggles. I was kind of playing with my neighbor. I did actually do a tournament a long time ago, and it was one of those things where you just wore goggles. And if you wore a mask, you were well, I don't even think they allowed you to wear a mask. But yeah, it was a different time, and it was fun, man. I remember the auto mags and the auto cockers. That was kind of the thing. And it's evolved a lot since then.
So were you a mag guy or a cocker guy?
I was an auto mag guy. I think I probably would have been an auto cocker guy now just because I like to fuck with my gun. But back then I didn't really know too much about it, and they kind of look cool. So just, the auto mag and then the mini mag.
Yeah. Looks like a little Uzi.
Yeah. The little Mac 10 kind of.
Awesome, man. So, enthusiasts of any sport or hobby that, typically they admire those at the top of the game. Back then in 91, what players did you admire?
To be honest, I didn't really know any top players back then when I was playing. I don't think it was televised. I didn't even know of speedball. I don't know if there was speedball. Maybe there was. We just played in the woods. And yeah, it was kind of one of those things where I played a decent amount when I was a kid, and then I went in the military, and then I stopped playing when I was in the military, and then college, I didn't really play too much. And then got back into it maybe like 2000, maybe 10-ish or so, something like that. Just a little bit here or there. But yeah, the sport had changed a lot.
So what about today? What players do you admire today?
Well, now I'm pretty up on the game. I've been watching a lot of paintball. And it's funny. I originally had watched, I think it was a documentary on Ollie Lang and Greenspan. And I just, sometimes when I'll see things or whatever, I'll look at my DMs. Sometimes like if a hot chick comes up the Explorer page, I'll just like hit message and see if she's messaged me. And and yeah, they had both Greenspan and Ollie had hit me up. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And I connected with those guys. And then later on, Ollie connected me with Marcelo. That was when we were, getting a little bit more serious about the sport. And it was just before, last couple of years, it was just like guys in my backyard playing. A lot of the UFC guys would come over and would just be fucking around. And then I don't know, I think it was, this is what it was. So the refs that were working at my house, they said 4 of them could beat 10 of me and my buddies. And we were like, no fucking way. If these guys fucking, beat us, we're quitting the sport. It was a whole thing. And yeah, they skunked us, man. They skunked us 3-0. And I think that's when we wanted to take it a little bit more seriously and put a team together and kind of saw like how much skill there was in the game. And I think that kind of like lit a fire under our ass to do it.
I love it, man. I love that you got a field at your house, it sounds like.
Yeah, I put that in, and well, I guess I didn't put it in. I bought the house in 2018 and had a baseball field. And I just, figured I'm never going to fucking play baseball. So I turned into a paintball field, put the lighting in, and yeah, just talked to Barry, sent over some guns and got the bunkers, and yeah, started fucking around.
Oh, cool. Are you close with Bear?
Yeah, well, he's the one that got me back in. Basically, I think it was like in 2012 or 14. I was playing at his fields in LA. So,
yeah, this community is very small. It's tight knit. Everyone tends to know each other. So,
yeah, it seems like that.
But Dan, it truly sounds like you love this game. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I've said numerous times, I think it's the safest form of adrenaline. I've done a ton of things like, off-road, racing. I've done the mountain biking, motocross, all sorts of shit, big wave surfing, whatever. And usually you just always have to risk your life or, a lot of money in gambling or something in order to get that adrenaline rush. And I feel like paintball is the safest form of it. It doesn't cost you a lot of money, and it doesn't, you're not going to fucking die. You're not going to get seriously injured. So I just think it's a cool sport. And I think a lot of people have a misconception about how bad it hurts. And so, yeah, I just, kind of want to get people involved in it.
Have you ever played airsoft?
Well, we fucked around at the house with those gay little things, but we never actually, put on. I mean, I was actually in the military for 4 years, so I don't want to like dress up and play military. Like I said, it's fun, like fucking around in the house, but I feel like paintball is such a better version of that. There's
absolutely,
yeah. There's just I don't know. I mean,
well, it's the visceral aspect, right? Like when you sail a little plastic BB over at someone and it clinks off them, there's not a feeling, right?
I think the pain is important. I think you need a little bit of a sting, otherwise it kind of, it doesn't feel like there's very high stakes. So I think, yeah, it's the perfect blend of like a little bit of pain to kind of like keep it, where there's a little bit of stakes involved, but not so much where you're ever going to get hurt. So,
well, yeah, that's for you, right? But when you're talking about hitting an opponent, like versus hitting them with a BB, when you sail a paintball across the field and you watch it connect and it just splats, something magical happens. It's a feeling, right? Yeah. Like, I think that's what hooks us, it's the adrenaline rush. It's a very visceral game. So yeah, I can tell that you love it, Tell me about your favorite memory in paintball.
I would say I did a 2-on-1 shirtless at Bears Park, and I won that. I think that was one of the top memories. I've had a lot of fun with paintball, man. Like winning the first tournament was cool. Putting a team together. Yeah, I mean, we've been practicing some D3 squad and stuff like that. So beating, D3 team is always cool, and just getting the comms better, working with your team. Kind of operating as a unit instead of just, doing your own thing, which is what most people do initially in paintball. Is kind of like they get tunnel vision. They focus on what they're doing. They're not communicating. And I think working with somebody else and kind of like driving them up the field or, having his back or coordinating an attack. I don't know. It's more chess, I think, when you get to a higher level of like how you're going to attack, how you're going to help your, team. And, yeah, I think it's a super cool sport.
Yeah. But I imagine someone like you with the experiences you've had in life, the experiences that you've had at paintball tournaments probably pale in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of crazy shit, but at the same time, like I could be doing whatever the fuck I want, and this is what I'm doing. So I think that's a pretty strong testament to the sport,
Well, give me a crazy memory outside of the sport.
I mean, I've been on 300-foot yachts with 30 models, and it just depends on.
I've seen your Instagram. I know,
yeah, whatever hedonistic, thing you ever wanted to do. I mean, I pretty much did all that, and I did the extreme sports and surfed 30-foot waves. Of jumped out of airplanes. I did SEAL training. I mean, I got kicked out day before graduation, but I still did 510 days. I did 4 years in the military. I was high stakes gambler. I beat one guy for 44 million bucks in his house. Like, I mean, I've had a lot of pretty high highs and, pretty low lows. So
it's awesome, man. You should write a book.
I did, actually. That was one of my low lows. That was a fucking 2-year, man.
I guess so. 'Cause I didn't know about it. Right.
Yeah, it was a shitty experience writing that book, but I think it was good, and it was kind of like a distraction during COVID. So I'm glad that I did it. But yeah, writing a book is probably one of the hardest things I've done.
Yeah. Hey, when you lean back a little bit, your camera is a lot clearer. When you lean in, you get a little bit blurry. I'm not sure if you see it on your end. So just a heads up on that.
Cool.
But Dan, I appreciate you sharing. I feel like some of the paintball community had some excitement, when you started sharing your passion for this game. Because when a celebrity endorses the sport, what that typically means is growth for the sport. Do you feel like you have any sort of desire or maybe even possibly a responsibility to help grow the sport with your massive audience?
Yeah, I mean, I posted about it on the social, that thing got like 10, 12 million views or something, I think. And I don't post too much on social media anymore, so it's not really my thing. But I do want to get some, new people into the sport. I think I think it'd be good for people. I think it'd be good for paintball. So yeah, that's, one of my goals. And I think a big piece of it is they need some sort of like mainstream exposure, like a TV show, or they need ESPN to start covering it again or something like that. But I think there's a lot of potential. I just think that, people don't know about it.
I mean, do you think network television is the way? I mean, we have so many streaming things these days. That's what people are watching. I don't even have cable. Like, do you think?
I mean, I say that, but like, Netflix, whatever, a TV show and, Ultimate Fighter style reality show where people kind of like get to know the players or follow the journey or just get some kind of connection. I mean, look, anytime you watch a UFC fight, if you care about the person, then you're going to care about the outcome. It's not necessarily about the level of competition. It's how much you're like connected to the person that's competing. And I think they're lacking in that in the mainstream. Like the average person couldn't name a paintball player, their fucking life depended on it. Right. So
true.
I think that's a part to make people care. And then obviously when people play, they're going to be more inclined to watch because they'll understand the game. So yeah, just any kind of exposure in general, but preferably something that would link people a little bit more closely to the sport and make them, care about outcomes or whatever.
So are you currently working on anything in that realm?
Well, I wanted to open a field. That's one of the things. I mean, I was going to talk to Dana about potentially doing something in paintball where, because he basically saw the vision with the UFC and he did that. And I see these two sports having some parallels. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of different avenues to grow it. I think potentially bringing in somebody with some money, buying the NXL or buying a tournament and then, really having some skin in the game. Like GI should be doing this. I mean, those guys are doing what, like $80 million a fucking year. Like they should be putting some of that money back into growing the sport. I don't feel like they really are. But somebody that has skin in the game should be doing it, and I feel like all the paintball companies are kind of like focused on their own shit. It's like they're not looking as much to grow the sport as they are to grow their own business. And I think a company like GI that's big enough where if the actual sport grew, that they would get a significant impact is more likely to, get out there and spend some of that money. And I think that's what needs to be done.
I do think GI is trying to grow the sport. I think most, if not all, companies are trying to grow the sport. I think that we possibly are lacking direction on that. Again, this is a small industry. Everyone knows each other. And it's like none of us are business people. We are paintball players first. And then somehow we ended up in business. Look at HK. These kids were just, degenerates at SC Village sneaking in to play for free, and they created a movement that became a brand, but they didn't have business experience. And a lot of paintball is that way.
Yeah, but I think they're different than GI. GI, like I said, I think that's a big enough company. They're bringing in enough money where, they would really get the bulk of the benefit if they grew it. And I think they have the money to grow it. I don't know that HK, I mean, I think they're doing pretty good, but I don't think they're bringing in 80 million a year, right? I think it's going to take, some real capital allocation. And I feel like there's not too many really big companies in paintball, GI and I don't know, maybe Planet Eclipse. I mean, there's not too many that I can think of that would have the money to really like have a serious impact. I think a lot of them are doing, little stuff, but I think it's going to take a big push.
Well, I mean, if GI was listening right now, what would you tell them to do?
Spend some of that fucking 80 million, 10% is standard marketing budget. So if they spend $8 million, I mean, that's a pretty significant, I think that would have a pretty significant impact on paintball. That could fund a reality show, that could fund, a lot more prize money in the tournaments, that could, basically, comp the entry of a bunch of D6 or D5 teams if you want to get, new players into the sport. I mean, I think when we first played the NXL, the first event, there was only like 5 D5 teams, and I think a big piece of that is like people just don't want to spend the money, to fly across the country, spend $3,000, whatever the fuck the entry fee is. And, for the potential to win $1,000, a lot of this stuff is, because we've won 2 in a row, and we got third at WWII, and I could be wrong, but I feel like we got more for third at the WWII than we did for first in NXL.
You didn't count the prize money?
We didn't even get anything at NXL. I think it was just like gift coupons or some shit for the next one. But look, I spent $80,000 to go to that fucking thing, so I wasn't super worried about
how'd you spend $80,000 to go to a paintball tournament?
Well, the jet fuel, and I rented a house is $25,000, and then whatever the fucking entry was, and then I rented an RV, and I pay for my whole team because most of those guys don't have any money. So,
but it was a vacation also, so not just a paintball tournament.
I would say AC was a little bit more of a vacation. I actually had fun there, but Tampa was like, we kind of like went in. Actually, my plane had an issue, and so we actually flew fucking commercial there. My plane fuse or something. Yeah. So no, but like the night before, so I slept 3 hours, and then we did the event. It was like I literally woke up 3 hours later, went to the event, played, and then I had to fly the plane all the way out there to pick us up, and then fucking fly us back. So I paid the same amount, but we only got one leg of the thing, and it was. I mean, look, 3 hours of sleep is not optimal. We didn't get to walk the field or anything like that, and that was my first paintball tournament. So yeah, I feel like that was a bit more like rushed and not as much fun. Whereas when we did AC, we kind of flew in the day before, we get to walk the field. We watched a little bit of, people playing, and, it was a different experience. I had a lot more fun with that.
So you're coming out to Ohio?
Well, I think next is WWII, and then I think Ohio after that.
Right on. Well, Dan, recently you've faced some pretty intense criticism, I'd say,
let my guard down and let us get to the real shit.
Yeah. So it's there, there's obviously the thing with Marcelo, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but what led up to that was some of the remarks that you made on Piers Morgan's Uncensored. And the paintball community may have concerns now that your ideology may actually bring negativity to the sport. So just to clarify, Dan, what are your beliefs?
Well, I think Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to the world today. And I said that on national TV. I've said that on my social platforms. I mean, I started speaking out against, the Israeli genocide that we're funding with our fucking tax dollars over a year and a half ago. They've since kicked me off the board of my company illegally. I've lost probably a $700-800 million sale, of which I would have gotten 50% of. So it's been pretty costly to me. My Jewish business manager tried to extort me. My Jewish lawyers fucked me over. I've had a lot of my Jewish friends come out and attack me. So, I've gotten a lot of pushback from that community. And this is coming from a guy that's, I had probably more than half my friends were Jewish. It wasn't really something I even thought about. But then once you criticize Israel, now all of a sudden it's this fucking tribal pack mentality. And for some reason, they've got this allegiance to a foreign country more so than their own. And then you start seeing your politicians tweeting in support of Israel. And then you realize how much of your tax dollars are going to fund this fucking terrorist nation. And you start looking at the history of Israel and how it was founded by terrorists and how, they blew up the King David Hotel, and the recognized terrorists that blew up the King David Hotel are the ones that founded Israel. And they, persecuted these Palestinians. They stole their land. And you look at the history of this, starting from the Nakba, and it's super fucked up. And they're currently operating in apartheid. They're committing a genocide, and we are funding it. And I'm completely fucking against that. And I'm not going to apologize for that. And, they've labeled me an anti-Semite, this, that, and the other. I really could give a fuck. Honestly, I don't give a shit what people, say about me. I don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. My real, concern about this is more Marcelo and kind of just the paintball community's reaction to this. And I think the idea of like, oh, he's a Nazi and his friend and this guy's a Nazi.
Clarify, Dan, because you said a lot there.
Yeah.
So you did say some anti-Semitic things there.
Well,
You mentioned some
word.
so there's some Jewish leadership that has done things that you are against. Does that mean hate for the entire Jewish race? Clarify.
No, absolutely not. I've clarified that. For me, this is not about all Jews are bad. I didn't say that, but I do think that Jewish supremacy is a massive problem. And I think that Jewish people are causing a, disproportionate majority of the world's problems today. And I don't like it. And I don't like where a lot of this, transgender bullshit is coming from. I mean, this stuff was started in Weimar Germany pre-World War II. And it was started by, a Jewish doctor. And this is coming from the Jewish community. The Talmud has 8 different fucking genders. That's not a Christian ideology. That's not a Muslim ideology. This stuff is coming from, the Jewish religion, and people don't want to talk about that. And the Jewish religion is positioned in a position of supremacy. And I said this on Piers Morgan. I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't believe in Jewish supremacy. I don't believe in black supremacy. I don't believe in supremacy, period. And the problem with the Jewish religion is that it teaches Jews that they are better than other people. And it literally says in their Talmud that, people that are not Jews are basically like cattle. And, I know how I think of cattle. If I thought of cattle as humans, I wouldn't eat cheeseburgers. Right. And so the problem is when you dehumanize people, or you don't view other people that aren't of your race or religion as being equal to you, then you have exactly what you have in Palestine today, which is a fucking genocide. And, these people aren't apologizing for it. And you've got obvious apartheid, and nobody had a problem with apartheid when it was South Africa. But for some reason, Israel has such a stranglehold on our politicians that you've got our politicians up there clapping like baby seals for a fucking war criminal. And somehow we just continue to give them, trillions of dollars. I mean, our support of Israel, if you total it all up and you add in, the war on terror, which we fought on their behalf because Netanyahu lied in front of Congress about weapons of mass destruction. So that war was fought for them based on lies. It's 20 trillion fucking dollars. Well, what that equates to is the average taxpayer is every household should have a fucking paid off Lamborghini in their garage had it not been for our support of Israel. So when I start looking at that shit as a veteran, I have real fucking problems. And when I look at like their history, I mean, they attacked the U.S. warship. That was, we were their ally at the time. Not only did they shoot up the fucking decks, they napalmed it. They shot the life rafts. I mean, if you start looking at the history of what these assholes have done, it's inexcusable. And so I've got a very strong stance on that. And like I said, for some reason, Jews are very tribal with this. If people were talking about Armenia, I'm Armenian, I wouldn't take some great offense to that. I wouldn't attack that person. And they constantly point to the Holocaust. Well, okay, Armenia had a Holocaust and I lost half of my people. Turks killed half my people. I don't hate Turks. I don't whine about that. I don't expect a leg up. We haven't had hundreds of billions of dollars in Holocaust reparations. I haven't, got my entire country indoctrinated in this Holocaust. FBI agents, every single FBI agent has to go to the Holocaust Museum. So we just get indoctrinated with this shit, but there's other Holocausts. There's, Jews aren't the only victims in the entire world. Like I said, half my race got knocked out around about the time that, World War II was going on. So that's okay. Israel denies that. So, Israel denies my Holocaust. So why the fuck do I have to acknowledge theirs? There's a big double standard here, and that's what I don't like. But anyways, I don't want to go off on too much of a fucking tangent there.
Well, you did. You unloaded there. Okay.
Yeah, well, I've got my
definitely
beliefs,
did. And I asked you to share them. So I appreciate you doing that. So it's one thing to have beliefs, right? And I don't have the historical wherewithal or the knowledge or have done the due diligence to comment on anything that you've said. So I'm not going to pretend to do that. I think the paintball
to fact check every single thing I said because it's all out there.
Absolutely. So what I think what the paintball community wants from you, Dan, is for you to say, no, I don't hate Jewish people. I disagree with some things that Jewish leaders and Israel has done. And there's a big difference between that and saying, I don't like Jews.
There's that. No, I mean, I obviously don't dislike Jews because, I spent 2 hours on the phone with fucking Greenspan the other day. We've been cool before this. He knew my political views, so long before this. I am against Jewish supremacy. I'm also against white supremacy.
You're against all supremacy.
So when I meet a white person, I don't automatically hate them because there's white supremacists. Just like when I meet a Jew, I don't hate them because there's Jewish supremacy, right? I think there's a large segment of Jews that have this supremacist mindset because it's built into their religion, but that doesn't mean there's not good Jews. That doesn't mean all Jews are bad. I never said that. And I very specifically lined that out on Piers as well. And this whole idea that, like, oh, he's a Nazi and somebody there haven't been fucking Nazis in 80 years. Okay. And let's just talk about like what a Nazi is. A Nazi was a person that was born in Germany. So I have a news flash for people. Like, all Nazis were not bad. There was 80 million people fucking in Germany in 1939. They weren't all bad. They didn't just wake up one day and they're all homicidal killers. So that whole narrative is bullshit. Just like when I was in the military and they tried to paint the Muslims with that same brush. Anytime you try and dehumanize a population, like when I was in the military, it was, Muslims are sand niggers, they're Hajis, they're, whatever. There was words used to talk about Muslims in a way to dehumanize them. And what that allowed the U.S. soldiers to do was kill them and not feel bad about it. Because I have friends that killed civilians over there. There's a fucking million civilians that died in Iraq. And a lot of those, people in the military didn't bat an eye because they were Hajis, they were this, they were that. They had words for them. They dehumanized that population. They were goat fuckers. They weren't, we didn't look, they tried to make them so that you didn't look at them as human. And the problem with doing that is it's just fucking bullshit. Most people are not all good and most people aren't all bad. Most people are gray area. And,
everyone's a sinner. Everyone's fallen short of the glory of God.
For the most part.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Everyone. Not for the most part. Every single person is flawed and a sinner.
Muhammad were above, but I mean, you look, everybody's got their belief system, but yeah.
What do you believe? Are you a man of faith?
Here's what I believe. I believe in doing the right thing. I believe that everybody knows what the right thing is, and I think that you should just fucking do the right thing. That's what I believe. And I think this idea that some people are chosen by God and other people aren't, it's just bullshit. And this idea that if people don't accept this religion, they're going to hell, that's fucking bullshit. I think that everybody knows what's right and what's wrong. And I think
how do we know that, Dan?
Because I think that you've got a conscience. And
where does that come from?
Well, I don't know. A lot of people have different theories on that. I think
what's yours?
I think that all humans are connected. That's what I believe. And so I think that when you hurt other people, you're kind of indirectly hurting yourself. And I think that, that's why you feel good when you help people. And I think that the goal should be to do what you believe is right.
I think that you're right. We do have a conscience. And I think that human beings are created to connect. I think it's ingrained within us to connect, that consciousness. And I think that as actually a gift from the Creator, it separates us from animals.
Yeah, I mean, some animals can connect. They've got dolphins that are, communicating and stuff like that. But I don't think that it's, can be compared to, what humans do. And, with that, I think that you're obviously held to a lot higher standard. And part of that standard is, looking out for people that, can't look out for themselves, which is one of the reasons why I think it's important to, speak up for these Palestinians that are being fucking killed right now because, they don't really have a voice. And I don't like my tax dollars funding their fucking suffering and their genocide and Israel cutting off, human aid and fucking food and water to mostly civilians and bombing hospitals and blowing up fucking schools and, just basically infringing on these people's fucking human rights on a daily basis. They've been doing it for, seriously for a year and a half, but this has been going on for 77 fucking years or whatever it's been since Nakba. And so, it's just something I'm passionate about. But anyways, I don't want to talk as much about, my belief system. My belief system is what it is. And you can Google it on the internet and you can hate me. And I really don't give a fuck if the paintball community likes or doesn't like me. My big concern is their judgment of Marcelo because I had a gun, and so.
Okay. So that's where the judgment came from.
Yeah.
The image was shared online. It was a paintball marker with Nazi symbolism.
Well, you say Nazi symbolism, that's, German World War II symbols, just like
what's commonly referred to as Nazi symbolism by the mass public.
Guy had he had a gun that had, communist symbols on there, and the Bolshevik communists mass murdered 30 to 60 million Christians prior to World War II. And they blew up 40,000 fucking Christian churches. And that was an 84% Jewish Bolshevik genocide that was perpetrated on Christians. So, everybody wants to like focus on this like Jewish victims of World War II. Well, prior to that, there were 60 million Christian victims that were killed by Jews, and nobody talks about that. And so, when that Russian Legion guy had a Russian gun, that could have offended a lot of Christians, and it should have offended a lot of Christians, and whatever. People have the right to be offended. If somebody had a Turkish gun, Turks killed half my people. I'm not going to whine about it. I'm not going to fucking cry. Shit happened 80 years ago. Oh, well, fucking get over it. We were going to have jerseys made by Enemy of the State that were going to be Nintendo 64 GoldenEye, which is my favorite video game, and Nazi Zombies, the Call of Duty one. Those are the two games I play. I'm not, super well versed, but, and I got a fucking, World War II gun and whatever. I'm not going to apologize for that shit. I think the gun looks fucking badass. A fan did the hopper and he did the tank. People don't like it. Fuck off. Planet Eclipse did a fucking Confederate flag gun. Okay, well, that would probably offend black people, but they want to whine about it. Fine. That's not here nor there. And that's got nothing to do with Marcelo. He didn't know what any of that shit meant. And whatever, why he doesn't need to. It's 80-year-old fucking war history. Who gives a shit? There's no Nazis today. There's neo-Nazi skinheads. Okay. I'm certainly not fucking one of them. I'm not an Aryan fucking brotherhood guy. I'm not a white supremacist. So they certainly wouldn't fucking accept me. I'm part Jewish, for Christ's sake. So I really wouldn't fucking be allowed in the
Are you really?
crowd. Yeah, whatever, dude. Doesn't fucking matter.
It does matter. That provides tremendous context.
I guess, man, this whole idea that like black guys can fucking say the N-word, and then you're Jewish, you can fucking say something about Jews. It's just bullshit, dude. Like, everybody should have the same freedom of speech, regardless of what your fucking lineage is. But the point is that I couldn't be a fucking Nazi even if I fucking wanted to. And if you're talking about today, they're called fucking neo-Nazis. And I can promise you Marcelo ain't fucking one of them. Okay. But whatever, man, like this whole witch hunt is just fucking bullshit. Let me tell you the difference between Marcelo and fucking Tyler. Okay. Marcelo could have taken the fucking easy way out. He could have just, and I told him to do this. I said, hey, fucking issue your statement. Cut ties with me, dude. You know what I mean? Like, this is a fucking hobby for me, like I want to grow the sport, but I'm doing this for fun. I want these fucking, kids on my team to have a good time and, whatever. But I don't give a shit. I've got a million things I could do, but this is like his job and his life. And that fucking guy chose to stand by my fucking team, because he's bonded with these fucking kids. Some of these kids don't have a fucking pot to piss in. Paintball is all they got, And so he chose to fucking stand by my team. And he, how fucking easy it would have been for him to say, oh, fuck those guys and I'm not going to coach them. He lost they kicked him off his fucking team.
He lost everything.
Yeah, dude. And that's a fucking hero right there. Regardless, when your fucking friend gets jumped by 5 motherfuckers, you fucking go in there and you have his back. You don't say, hey, what did you say to these guys? You could talk about that shit afterwards. You have his fucking back. Well, guess what? Fucking Tyler did not have Marcelo's back, and Marcelo didn't even fucking do anything wrong. That guy was the only fucking hero in this whole fucking situation.
Certainly. I mean, if anyone deserves grace in this sport, it's Marcelo Margot.
He doesn't deserve grace. He deserves fucking praise. He's the only guy in this fucking thing that didn't do anything. You want to be mad at me for having a fucking World War II fucking gun? You want to call it a Nazi gun? Whatever. I don't give a fuck. I really don't care. Come fucking see me. I'll be at the fucking tournaments. You got a problem with me? Come fucking talk to me. But Marcelo, he had nothing to do with that shit. He had fucking nothing to do with that shit. Here's a guy fucking standing up for his friends. And that's what you find out when shit hits the fan. You find out who your fucking friends are. You don't find out drinking fucking champagne at the fucking podium when you're celebrating a fucking win. You find out who your friends are when the shit hits the fan. And that motherfucker stood 10 toes down, and he didn't have to. And I fucking told him not to. I said, fucking distance yourself, dude. I don't care. You know what I mean? Throw me into the bus. He just wouldn't do it, but that's a guy of principle. He had nothing to fucking gain. I'm not even paying him. He's fucking coaching all these guys for free. Like,
that's a surprise.
The kindness of his fucking heart. He's just a good guy, man. He wants to grow fucking paintball, and he cares about these fucking kids. He's coming out here every weekend coaching these fucking guys, and they love it. They love paintball. It's like, one of these kids is going through a lot of shit right now. And paintball is honestly probably the only thing fucking keeping it together for him. And, so I just, man, I hate seeing him, take shit for this. And that's why I'm on this fucking podcast. I'm not here because this is what I want to fucking do right now. I'm here because I feel bad that Marcelo is taking some shit. And I was going to talk to Greenspan about it, but he was so fucking scared, and that whole thing, man, just like the fact that people are scared to talk about this shit is crazy. The fact that people have been so fucking indoctrinated that like one word can stir up so much fear. It's like, I don't know, man, the paintball fucking community, apparently they're like the guys like wearing affliction 10 years after it was fucking cool in the Midwest. They haven't realized like cancel culture. Yeah, they haven't realized that cancel culture is not a fucking thing anymore. Like people aren't getting canceled. Like
cancel culture is very much a thing. Bro, it's prevalent here in the United States, dude.
Bro, you can't cancel me. You can't cancel people no more. Kanye just put out a fucking Hail Hitler song, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Like, people don't give a fuck. They're tired of this shit, bro. They're tired of the fucking, you know, being persecuted for not.
Dan, it happened. It happened to Marcelo. He got canceled, dude.
I know. I'm saying, like, you know, they're not canceling, like, celebrities aren't scared of this shit anymore. You know, like, yeah, they can, you know, you can lose sponsors and stuff. I mean, look, I lost hundreds of millions of fucking dollars. Kanye, he lost billions. I mean, like, yeah, you can get fucked over, but like at the end of the day, you know, I think like the people aren't cowering to it anymore. You know, people are tired of this. Like they got lied to during COVID. You know, people got shamed. You know, CNN never fucking came back and apologized. They forced all these fucking people to take a fucking bullshit vaccine, you know, forcing you into taking it, fucking shaming Joe Rogan, talking about, oh, this guy's fucking taking horse dewormer, that fucking fag Como, who, you know, they literally had video of him fucking talking shit about Joe Rogan. Then afterwards, he's fucking pushing ivermectin. And they're like, dude,
I saw that.
Yeah, and they caught him like red-handed, you know, all these two-faced motherfuckers, you know? And so you've got this like culture where everybody's like, you know, oh, I'm going to virtue signal. I'm going to, you know, oh, the Nazis are bad. And I'm going to show everybody how good I am by typing on the keyboard. Like, fuck off, dude. You know, like it doesn't take anything to jump on a fucking bandwagon and virtue signal. You know, we saw these douchebags do that with the black squares. We saw them fucking do it during COVID, you know, with their stupid little fucking masks. Like, bro, people are over that shit, bro. Like nobody is fucking, you know, like, nobody's doing this like woke bandwagon-y bullshit anymore, man. That's why I'm saying like the paintball community is like fucking behind the times on that shit. Like it's not a thing anymore.
So Dan, so the gun for you, that represents a piece of artistic history. Is that right?
No, man. You know, I'm not even a cop out with that. I just think the fucking thing looks cool, dude. Like that's it. Like I just think it's fucking cool. Just like, you know, I would have a U.S. World War II gun too, you know, like.
Well, so but the symbols on it, whether you agree or not, to a lot of people represent the mass genocide of a lot of people.
But that's the fucking
millions
problem.
People.
World War II is not just about the Jews.
Right. So the question is, Dan, do the symbols mean that to you? Do those?
I don't know what half those fucking symbols mean, dude. But like my grandfather fought in World War II for the U.S. You know, I was in the military. My dad fought in the fucking Vietnam War. My whole fucking family is veterans, right? Like, you know, it's not a thing, you know, like because somebody has, you know, if somebody had a fucking piece of fucking German silverware or some shit like that, you know, like that doesn't mean they're a fucking Nazi. You know, if I had a fucking painting of Hitler, like, okay, you know, you could say that. I don't have a fucking painting of the motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like this is a very different thing. And whatever, man. Like I played fucking Nazi zombies on Call of Duty fucking growing up. We were supposed to get fucking jerseys, and now they're probably fucking scared to make them because everybody's such a fucking pussy.
Have you ever been to the event, the scenario event, or heard of the scenario event where they do like Nazis versus everyone else?
No, I haven't. I don't play no woods ball. We did some events like a long time ago. That's funny that they have that, and then these people are still gonna fucking freak out about it. It's so funny. It's like.
Well, because they misinterpreted your intention of it. They think that you hate Jews.
I mean, they can look at my fucking content. I mean, I've talked extensively about this, like for hours and hours. And Greenspan even said that, and he acknowledged it on his show. Like he literally listened to all my fucking podcasts. He's seen my fucking tweets. Like I go fucking hard against Jewish supremacy because I think it's a fucking real problem, and I think it's a problem that most people are scared to fucking talk about. And you know, and it's why there's been no fucking Epstein arrests, you know, it's why that fucking child sex trafficking ring, that's why there's fucking little girls that fucking died on that island and were raped on that island and nobody's done a fucking thing about it. And we've got the flight logs, we've got all that shit. And you know what they said? They don't want to fucking release the Epstein files because they don't want to increase anti-Semitism. Like, shut the fuck up about this whole anti-Semitism thing. It's like, why are Jews so protected? It's not like they're fucking struggling. They're crushing it in every category. They're like 3,500% represented in like all the important fucking aspects, positions of power, whatever. So like these people don't need protection. They don't need a leg up. They actually need somebody to fucking like regulate a little bit. They certainly don't belong in a victim category. That's for fucking sure. They don't need any like special privileges. They don't need any anti-Semitism laws. Like when you're in a position of power, guess what? You get to get fucking criticized. That's one of the things about being a celebrity. Everybody can say whatever the fuck they want about me, and I can't do shit. That's why 5 years ago they had fucking articles saying Dan Bilzerian's going to jail. He's bankrupt. Ignite's bankrupt. He's fleeing the country. These fucking dipshits on YouTube could write whatever they fucking wanted about me. It was all complete bullshit. I'm flying on a fucking private jet. I got $1 million watch. I'm worth $350 million. And I got to listen to these assholes talk about how I'm broke and how my company's broke. My company's doing fucking hundreds of millions of dollars a year in sales. And I got to listen to all this shit. And there's nothing I can do about it. Because you know what? That's the price of being fucking, famous. Well, the same thing is true of being in fucking positions of power. Is with power comes fucking responsibility. And when you're fucking around, there should be culpability with that responsibility. So you can't say that you can't criticize Jews and their victims because it's bullshit. They're crushing it. And, God bless them if they're doing the right thing. But if they're not doing the right thing, then they sure as fuck should be criticized for it. And they're not above reproach. They're not above criticism. Nobody should be. And that's what the Bolsheviks did before they mass murdered 30 to 60 million Christians. The Jewish Bolsheviks made it illegal to criticize fucking Jews. And that was prior to World War II. So, people need to brush up on their fucking history a little bit more, because the last time you made it illegal to criticize Jews, you had about 30 to 60 million Christians that got fucking mass murdered. And Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote fucking books about it. He's a Nobel fucking prize winning author. Like, this is not conspiracy theory. You can go on your fucking Google and search this shit. They don't teach you this stuff in fucking high school, but it's out there, and so you want to add a little bit of context to fucking World War II. You can talk about what happened to World War II, prior to World War II, what led up to that, the fucking complete degeneracy that was happening, in Weimar Germany prior to World War II. So you guys want to talk history, we can talk history, but like, having a fucking, a gun, that's of the Soviet fucking type or of a fucking Japanese or German or whatever does not mean that you are like a fucking member of that military 80 years ago. It's just nonsense, right? And like the fact that Hitler has such a fucking bad rap compared to Stalin or Mao, people that have killed like fucking multiple times more people than him, is just goes to show the level of propaganda that we fucking received. And it's like, we should learn about past events so that we don't repeat them. But we shouldn't only learn about one. We should learn about all the different genocides. We should learn about all the different leaders. We should learn about what happened before that, because in order to prevent these fucking things, you need to have a full understanding, but you have to have an actual understanding and not just a snapshot. Like every time they talk about what's going on in Israel today, they talk about October 7th, but they don't talk about all the events that led up to October 7th and the reason that October 7th happened. And that's very important, because if I kick you in the fucking nuts and I rape your dog, and then you punch me in the face and we say, hey, why did you punch Dan in the face? And we eliminate everything that happened before that, that's going to be a very different picture, right? But, when you look at the whole of the whole of what happened, then you're like, yeah, you should have kicked the shit out of Dan more. You should have hit him fucking 2-3 times.
Well, I think the general population, and this is myself included, we're in this day and age where our attention spans are relatively low and things might be interesting or a topic that we talk about for a week, this topic included. People will forget about this in a few weeks. And, the same goes for historical events. So many things happen in the world that people don't have the bandwidth to pay attention to it all. I don't think anyone that's watching this is going to debate you on history.
Yeah, I just think that we need to stop with the selective outrage, and I think that when people are going to vilify somebody, they should get all the information. I think they should hear from that person. I think before Marcelo gets vilified, they should hear his side of the story.
100%.
They should hear somebody that's standing up for him. I mean, that's the whole reason I want to come here, is to like say the things about him that should be said, that maybe he doesn't want to toot his own fucking horn, but I can tell you, like, of everybody in this situation, like, that guy's the fucking hero. And I guarantee you want a fucking friend like that having your fucking back, because if you get into a fight at a fucking bar, Marcelo will fucking be there for you. Tyler Harmon, maybe fucking not. That guy's be in the fucking bathroom, checking his fucking phone. But, Marcelo will have your fucking back. And that's the definition of a friend. Is a friend is somebody that's going to be there when it's fucking inconvenient. And I can tell you that that's Marcelo. And that's what true character is about. And it's not about, being there for the fucking celebration. It's about being there when times are fucking shitty. And I think he's really shown his fucking true colors, and he should get commendation for this, not condemnation. You know, it's just
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a fucking absurd what's going on. And Greenspan fucking knows that too. I talked to him for 2 fucking hours, and he agreed with me that Marcelo, you know, should not be getting this shit, and he should say something on his fucking show about that. I didn't watch his last show, but if he didn't say anything, he should, because he knows that he should, and I talked to him about that. Like, Marcelo is not the fucking bad guy here, and anybody persecuting him is a fucking total piece of shit.
Well, I mean, it's what the symbolism on the gun stands for to people, and the fact that it ended up on his channel, which created all this.
He didn't fucking know that.
I know, Dan. I know.
There's fucking 68 masks. You know what I mean? What is he supposed
I'm just saying what happened.
He doesn't
that is
even
what
know
happened.
What those symbols are. And by the way, the pictures that were posted of that gun were not from his video. So they put other photos of that gun on, you know, on those posts that he did not film. He did a simple like pan over of the stuff. He wasn't fucking inspecting everything. Like, I guarantee you that he did not know what some of those symbols meant, because I don't even fucking know what most of the symbols meant. Like I said, I didn't take a fucking stencil or an easel or whatever and fucking draw that shit. I couldn't even draw a stick figure.
Is that laser engraved or was it anodized?
No, the thing was painted. So somebody painted the hopper and the tank, which was, you know, those were the big symbols. And that was just a fan that reached out to me on Facebook. And I was like, yeah, you know, if you want to make shit that'll fucking match the gun, cool. And he did. You know, I didn't tell him what to do. And he fucking, you know, went out. I said, German World War II. That's what he gave me. So, you know, whatever, man. That's like not that fucking big a deal. Dude, like Planet Eclipse made a Confederate flag gun that they sold.
Okay? Which also has mixed meanings to people.
I agree. But that would, by the way, offend a larger segment of the population, you know, because we've got like a 13 or 17% black population, and the Confederate flag to a lot of black people means, you know, slavery. So I could understand where, you know, that would hit home. You know, I wouldn't be offended by that, but I could understand it, you know, but I'm just saying you can't say that, you know, one gun is bad and then this one is okay. And then the Russian Legion gun, I think that could be offensive as well. I mean, look, if we're just going to be offended by everything, the truth of the matter is an American flag gun could be very offensive to fucking Iraqis or Muslims or whatever, because we've been like the most warlike fucking nation of all. I mean, especially the Japanese, for God's sakes. I mean, we dropped bombs in Nagasaki and Hiroshima targeting women and children. We mass murdered like 250,000 because all the military age men were out fighting a fucking war. So we targeted women and children. I mean, we did the same thing fucking when we firebombed Dresden. I mean, we literally like focused on the women and children because all the men were out fighting. So, you know, we've done fucking horrible things. And I promise you, if you had family that fucking died there, or in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, or fucking Dresden, or any of those fucking places, your mother got fucking firebombed, whatever, you would have a negative reaction to the American flag. But at the end of the day, like, dude, this is freedom of speech. You can't worry about what everybody's going to be offended by this or that. But like, that had nothing to do with Marcelo, you know? Like, if I take a video and there's something in the fucking background, it's like, okay, like that doesn't mean that it's not his house, you know? Like, he's showing off a mask collection because I got like $100,000 worth of fucking JT masks in there. Like, some of that shit's like 1 of 3 or 1 of 1 or whatever. And like, he was focusing on that. He wasn't worried about the fucking 10 guns in the background. And so, you know, I don't think he did anything wrong whatsoever.
What would you say to the people that have criticized him and the teams that have cut him?
Directed at me. You know, if you're fucking pissed at somebody, you want to be pissed at somebody, be pissed at me, you know, and I'll take it, you know, but he's absolutely not to blame. He did nothing wrong. In fact, I think he was very heroic in his stance, you know. It would have been very easy for him to, you know, just do what like Kat did. I mean, Kat was there, you know, Kat Sikora, she was, you know, taking pictures with me. She was using my name to get sponsors and, you know, get free shit and free guns and free this and free that. She actually knew my views because I talked to her extensively about it, and she saw the fucking Piers interview. She was fully fucking aware what Marcelo doesn't fucking care about politics. He's not into that shit. We don't.
He just cares about paintball.
Yeah, he comes out here. He's our fucking coach. We play fucking paintball. Kat was there when I was like fucking talking to Jake Shields and fucking going back and forth about, you know, the fucking Piers thing and this and that. And so she knew the full extent, and she was the first one to fucking run, you know? So I don't know, man. I just,
she doesn't play for your team anymore.
No. I mean, she started that girls team because she wanted a bunch of free shit and, you know, whatever. And then the moment, you know, something fucking awry happened, she automatically distanced herself and kept all the free shit, you know? So, you know, another fair weather friend.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there's some people commenting.
I don't see
right
any
there.
of it, by the way. Am I not?
Okay, so on the top right of your screen, there's a button that says comments. We'll get to that here in a moment, Dan. Do you have anything that you want to show off besides the gun?
Well, I'm in a fucking movie theater here, so I don't have anything here. But okay, so oh my god, there's a lot of comments. I can't even go through all these. Okay.
All right, so you guys can start typing your questions here in a moment while we wait for those to come in. Dan, what are you most thankful for paintball has given you?
I don't know, man. Honestly, like recently, like more of a sense of purpose, to be honest. Like, I know it's kind of, probably a lot of guys in the chat think, D5 paintball is probably pretty gay and shit, but like for me, it's tough. And, I never played tournaments. And so I think that it's a challenge, and I like building a team with the guys. And I know the guys are super stoked on this. And a lot of these guys couldn't, play paintball if it wasn't for, the team and, sponsoring them and whatever. And, I'm thankful to look, the paintball community has been nothing but fucking cool. I know recently that, people have, said a bunch of shit, but I don't really think that's super reflective of like the entire paintball community, because everybody that I've met personally, and I've fucking done business, and I bought a bunch of masks, and I've met people at the fucking events and whatever. And like everybody from the refs to the players, I mean, they've all been super fucking cool. Super welcoming. And so I got nothing but good things to say. I mean, I know recently, people have been fucking pissed off or whatever, but I've noticed in my life that, there's the keyboard warriors, and there's the shit that you hear on the internet. And then there's the shit that you see face to face when a motherfucker comes up to you and shakes your hand, looks you in the eye. And those people that are shaking your hand and looking you in the eye aren't the people that are fucking talking the shit behind the keyboard. Like that fat ass fucking ball soup or whatever fucking guy. I mean, dude looks like he lives in his fucking mother's basement. Those are the kind of guys that are talking shit. But like the guys that are out there in the tournaments that are actually fucking playing, 99% of those guys are cool fucking guys.
So you're a celebrity, and it's a novelty in the paintball community. Come the next event that you're at, come Ohio, are you cool with people coming up to you saying what's up? A lot of people are distancing themselves. Are you cool with the community?
Buddy, I've taken every picture for the last fucking 14 years, so anybody comes up, I'm always fucking cool with them. You're not going to find a single person that I've ever said no to a picture. I don't have a fucking conversation when everybody comes up, but, I'll take the photos. I'm cool with everybody. I always try and, give back good energy, as long as, people are fucking respectful, which, 99.999% of the time they are. So awesome.
How do you want to be remembered in this game?
Shit, I'm not trying to build a legacy in paintball, man. I'm just playing because I like the sport, and it's
a game that you love, and yeah, so the community must be important to you. How do you want to be remembered by that community?
Well, I don't know, man. I think being a public figure, I think that I care about people that I know. I think that if I focus on people's opinions of me that don't know me, I think I drive myself fucking crazy. I mean, one of the things about being famous is if you start reading all the fucking comments, you'll literally drive yourself insane. Mm-hmm. So I try not to, concern myself with the opinions of people that I don't know. I mean, initially coming into paintball, there's a bunch of people that were saying a bunch of great shit about me, and cool. That's great. And, there's been people that said bad shit. I don't concern myself with that stuff. When I meet somebody, I take them at face value. If they, treat me with respect, I treat them with respect. And, I don't know, man. I feel like I've got plenty of a fucking legacy. I'm not super worried about, being remembered or any of that shit. I'm just here to try and, fucking win World Cup and grow the sport and have fun with it, so.
Right on. Well, if you want to take a couple questions, guys, go ahead and throw them in. Answer as many as you want, Dan.
Yeah, let's see some of these comments. Okay, so, okay, protocol doesn't mean Nazi shit at the company. Yeah, exactly. Let me try out for protocol. So we actually had some tryouts. I think Marcelo ran those. We had some guys come out. Staying with Dan, appreciate the support, guys. See, I mean, you see these fucking comments. Most of the people are pretty fucking cool. All right, let's see here. Questions. We continue to the season. Oh, fuck, is it going quick? We continue next season to D4. That's the goal. We considered potentially going up to D4 this season, but I think, we'll see how we do it at WWII. WWII is pretty fucking tough. A lot of teams come out, and also with the With a 3-point mercy, it's, it's a fucking little bit of a crapshoot. Okay.
Hey, what happens when someone walks you off at NXL? They bonus ball you off the field. You probably
Hey,
like
man,
it.
we return the favor.
Probably
It's all
like it.
good. I ain't scared of shit. So, we get overshot, we'll fucking overshoot. How much are you down lifetime poker? Well, I'm actually net up in poker, but I have had some fucking losses. You get some wins, you get some bad beats, and that's how it goes. It's a roller coaster. Who said they can't sign?
Any interest in buying the NXL? I like that one.
I talked about that, and I think that it's something that I'd want to do with somebody else. I mean, I've never run a fucking tournament or anything like that. I think what I'd like to do is bring a big investor in, like kind of, like one of the Fertitas or somebody that did a big capital infusion into the, UFC, and bring in somebody to manage it and, really try and actually fucking grow the sport like they did with the UFC. I mean, look, they bought the UFC for like $2 million. So,
that's it.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. It's quite the bargain.
$2 million. Yeah.
Okay. I probably would have bought it if I knew that.
Yeah, exactly. Hindsight's 2020. What about the SS symbol on the gun? Yeah. I mean, SS symbol. I think that's the lightning bolts on there. That's one of the German fucking symbols they had. Okay. Let's see here. Why did you say Hitler was great? I actually didn't say Hitler was great. I don't know enough about him to make a decision. But I do know that a lot of the things that you're told are not true. And I haven't read Mein Kampf. I've listened to about 2 minutes of his speeches translated on fucking TikTok, and what he was saying was not what I thought he was saying. Joe Rogan actually talks about that too. It's not like gas the Jews and fuck these Jews. He's talking about, perversion in the cinema. He's talking about poisoning, our children's minds with this homosexuality and, degeneracy, and that, the art in the theaters and the press is not coming from his people. So I don't know, some of that stuff, sounded familiar with today, but a
couple of people want to know who did the anno on the gun, but it looks like someone drew it on, right?
Well, so the hopper and the tank were painted on. Okay. Chris.
What about the feed neck laser engraving?
Oh yeah, I don't really want to bring any heat on whoever fucking engraved that gun, but yeah, I know my haircut sucks. Thank you.
At least you got hair. I'm losing mine.
Yeah, we'll all fucking lose it eventually. Dan, you racist Nazi Jew hater. There he goes. Okay. Dude, yeah.
We'll address that one. Tell him you're not.
I mean, I already said, I couldn't be a fucking Nazi, right? And there's not any Nazis. There's neo-Nazis, and from what I've been told, those guys are skinheads and they got a bunch of fucking tattoos, and it's kind of like a gang and whatever. And funny thing is, the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood is actually fucking Jewish. But regardless, I don't really think that's the thing. I actually haven't even met, I don't think ever in my life, a real legitimate skinhead. They talk about this as like this white supremacy is this big fucking problem. I don't think I've ever met a white supremacist, literally. And I've been fucking all over the country, in the military, college, whatever. And I don't think I've ever met a legitimate skinhead. I was all tatted up, like you see in the movies. I don't know. Not saying they're not out there, but I haven't fucking seen any. Okay. Stand with Dan. Appreciate that. Are you a Nazi or not? I already addressed that. We continue to D4. Talked about that. Badass snake player. DM Marcelo or Derek, because we actually are looking for a potential snake player. How do I handle sponsorships? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Show the gun. Guns are upstairs. I don't think I'm ever going to make it to a pro team, but everybody's got to have a dream, right? Get me vapes. We're only selling the vapes in South America right now. What does SS stand for? I believe it's Stoffel or Storm. I can't pronounce it. I think it's this. Their special forces. I think you need a 90-degree OTB frame. don't know what that means.
Off the break frame. I don't know what that means either.
Yeah. Winning a major event at D5 and not moving up is the most bitch ass shit. Well, I mean, I played 3 tournaments my whole life. I mean, are you supposed to just immediately move up a division? Is that, I don't really even fucking know.
Here's ARG is the thought process of growing the sport like you talked about. Shoot, it's going fast here.
It is, right? Yeah.
The growing the sport like you talked about with the UFC, a real goal you think about and want?
Well, yeah, I mean, my goal was to bring in, like a serious person. I was going to talk to Dana White about it. And he's got his people, Fertitas, whatever. I think that's what it would need to really take it to the next level. Yeah, that's not really something that I'm trying to bite off personally, but I'd like to see it happen. And I think I can, help facilitate it. All right.
Yes, there.
Free Palestine, like that. The thought process of Israel getting super hot chicks into the military. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody in Israel has to join the military for a year or something like that. Would I support Israel if it was all super hot chicks? I mean, honestly, man, I just I can't support genocide no matter what, I just, and it's your fucking tax dollars that are paying for this shit. I don't think the average American knows how much fucking money we're actually sending over there. And the fact that we're getting we're not getting nothing. We're getting less than nothing because we're basically pissing off, a quarter of the globe, the Muslims, by fucking, funding.
No American knows where their tax dollars go. That's why we have Doge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, it's not being spent correctly. I can fucking promise you that. All right, we got 1 or 2 more here. That's why I don't pay taxes. Why would you say that Jews run the paintball? So, would you say that Jews run the paintball industry, and why has it turned out the way it did? I don't think Jews own the paintball industry, but I don't really know. I don't know who owns the paintball industry. When I'm talking about them being overrepresented, I'm talking about like government. I'm talking about, media. I'm talking about Hollywood. I'm talking about banking. I'm talking about, massively overrepresented in the government. I think Biden's cabinet had like 40% Jewish people, and most of them with dual citizenship with Israel. So, when I say overrepresentation, I'm talking about like 25% of the Ivy League colleges. I'm talking about like 75% of the owners of, NBA teams, like, things where, it requires a lot of money, power, influence, doctors, lawyers,
but you're cool with Jewish people in general. A Jewish paintball player can come up to you and say, "What's up?"
Yeah. I mean,
that's what people are worried about, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that hates an entire group of people is just stupid. You should judge everybody, on face value. But at the same time, I don't think you should ignore statistics either. If you are walking down the street and some fucking, gangbanger fucking walks by with his fucking pants sagged down, I think you should be on fucking guard. I think it's okay to recognize patterns. Yeah, I don't think all Jewish people I don't think there's any group of people that has like all bad people. I think just even that idea is nonsense. And that's what I was talking about with dehumanizing populations, which is what we did with Muslims. That's what we did with, Hajis, in Iraq. I was in the military. Like I saw what happens when you dehumanize a population, and you can justify all sorts of super fucked up things. And that's what they're doing in Israel right now. And I don't want to see it done on any side. Like, I don't like that Bill Maher can get on fucking national television and say that Islam is the mother lode of bad ideas. Like, it's just bullshit, and it should be the same for both sides. If they can massively criticize Islam, you should be able to massively criticize Judaism. Like, it should be freedom of speech. I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. And once again, I don't believe in white supremacy, Jewish supremacy. I don't believe in supremacy, period. I think when you have a supremacist mindset or belief system, that is what allows you to do really fucked up shit. And, that stands in the face of what, people are told that the Nazis were, because what I was taught was that Nazis were white supremacists. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's, in my mind, when I think of the word Nazi, I think of white supremacist. And I am against supremacy. So I guess I would be the polar opposite of that.
Well, I hope this has brought some context and some clarity. Is there any other questions you want to answer there in the chat?
Oh shit, we got so fucking many. Oh my god. What if you showed Jewish people that gun? Positive reaction? Probably not, but oh well.
Would you bring that gun to an event?
No, I mean, if we had our fucking jerseys and if it was before all this bullshit, I was planning on wearing the fucking, Nintendo 64 fucking GoldenEye jersey, and I was planning on wearing the fucking Call of Duty Nazi Zombies fucking jersey, and I thought the fucking gun would be cool, but now everybody's so fucking sensitive and freaking out about it, no. But I just don't think it's that big of a deal. And I don't think that as a person, you should be so fucking offended by anything. Like literally anything. I don't think a, Confederate flag should be able to trigger you. I don't think a Soviet fucking hammer should be able to trigger you. I don't think a German World War II gun should be able to fucking trigger you. Like, period. Like I said, half my people got fucking murdered in a genocide by Turks. I don't fucking hate Turks. I don't think twice about it. If I see a Turkish flag or I meet a Turkish person, I don't hold that against them. It's just like slavery. Like you keep bringing this shit up and you don't let anything die and you're going to harbor animosity. And so it's like the only way to push forward is for people to fucking like stop living in the fucking past. Guess what? World War II was like 80 fucking years ago. The shit's over. Slavery was hundreds of fucking years ago. It's like if you keep harping on old shit, then, you're going to harbor resentment or whatever. And I just think it's, it's just backtracking. It's unnecessary.
Dude, it's just one of the realities of society today. It's somehow other people have been responsible for our triggers. As a grown adult, we are responsible for our triggers and how we respond to our triggers. It's okay to have them, but you're responsible for how you react to them.
I mean, but that whole concept of like needing safe space and having triggers is like relatively new shit,
Well, here's what it is. And I think they said it on Joe Rogan. It's that people have become so comfortable. Like we get everything that we need. We have comfort in every level. We have instant everything at our fingertips. We have information. We have no problems. So one of the basic human needs is uncertainty. Tony Robbins talks about it. So what we do is we create problems if we don't have enough of them, because it's one of the things that we need. We need some uncertainty in our lives. So I think that's one of the problems that we have today, and it comes with the convenience of technology.
Yeah. No, people are addicted to comfort and their lives are pretty fucking easy. And they say, soft times, or easy times create soft men or whatever the fucking whole like saying was, right?
Yeah,
like,
I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things when, if everything's fucking easy, then you end up with a bunch of fucking pussies because, they need, little things then trigger them because they haven't actually really fucking suffered, like send these motherfuckers to like boot camp or fucking SEAL training or whatever. And then like nothing's going to fucking trigger them after, going through some shit like that. So I think, when people don't suffer and when they're addicted to comfort, then like little things will fucking bother them. And when they're told they need a safe space or when they're like, when so much emphasis is put on these things, then it's like all of a sudden they feel like they should react because everybody's told them they need to react to this stuff. And at the end of the day, like, look, when I was in the military, people said fucking racist shit all the time, whatever. At the end of the, like, we had each other's backs, like no matter what. So like, people could talk shit. There was nothing off limits. People would fucking talk shit about people's mothers. There was like, if you could say something verbally that would get under somebody else's skin, they would get fucking destroyed because people would harp on them and rip on them. So like when I grew up, you had to be thick skinned. Like nothing could trigger you. No word, no verbal anything should be able to cause you to lose control of like.
How old are you, Dan?
Exposure. I'm 44.
Okay. So you're 4 years older than me. And so that we grew up in the generation of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Exactly. And we are living in a world today where it's been cited that words are violence.
Yeah, that's not true. It's like, it's only true if you allow it to be true. And I think that's, one of the lessons is that people need to be a lot less fucking sensitive. They need to be more accepting. They need to stop being so triggered. They need to think before they jump on bandwagons. They need to. Here's the biggest thing, and I tweeted this before fucking COVID. I said people are more concerned with looking like a good person than actually being a good person. And I think that's the number one problem with society today is they're more focused on looking like a good person than actually being a good person. You know, like put all that fucking energy you have into actually being a good person and helping somebody and doing something good that you have for like hating something that's bad or whatever. Like everybody wants to be outraged and they want to like show how good they are because they're outraged at this and they're outraged at that. Like just shut the fuck up and go do something. You know, go do something positive. Go help somebody. You know, have a fucking positive impact. Don't just fucking talk about it and be about it. You know, and I think that's, you know, one of the things that Marcelo did is he fucking like stood for what he believed in. Like he believed that the right thing to do was to continue coaching these fucking guys out here and not bail out on these guys when these guys need them the most. Because I don't give a fuck what these people say about me. This shit is like a fucking speck of sand in a fucking tornado to me. But for these kids that haven't gone through this shit and haven't been fucking lambasted in the fucking media and had people fucking talk shit about them for fucking 14 years and have lies spread about them and all this stuff, people that haven't gone through that, this is like a traumatizing experience. I could give two fucking shits. But some of the kids on my paintball team, you know, they've been attacked, they've been threatened, they've been this, they've been that, you know. And so that's not fair to them, you know. Like for me, the only like thing that bothers me is like the collateral fucking damage to these other people that don't deserve any of this stuff. Like I got some fucking, you know, 20-year-old kid on my fucking team that works at like Chick-fil-A and he's just like trying to make ends meet and shit. He doesn't need this, you know, like he doesn't need people like threatening his life in the comments and whatever. And so, yeah, I just think that, you know, focus your energy on fucking, you know, the person that you got a fucking problem with and stop trying to like pawn it off on anybody associated with them.
Do you think what you've said here today and what you've shared will change people's perspective on Marcelo?
If they got a fucking brain, it should, you know, if they're free thinkers, you know, I mean, I feel like I've lined it out pretty simply. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you know, you should hold somebody accountable for what they've done and you should judge them based on, you know, whether or not they did what, you know, they believe is the right thing. To me, I think a hero is somebody that, you know, pays personally, you know, he pays a personal cost for doing what he believes is right. It's real easy to do what you fucking believe is right when it's convenient or when you're getting money for it or when other people are going to pat you on the back for it. The time that it fucking matters is when it's hard, when you fucking lose things to do what you believe is right. And you say, you know what? I don't care if I lose my fucking job. I don't care if I lose these friends. I'm going to do what I believe is right. That to me is what makes you a fucking hero. And I think Marcelo is a fucking hero, if you want my honest opinion.
Anything else you want to answer in the chat?
That's it, brother. It's good
Any
talk.
Final thoughts?
Nah, man, I think that was good. I appreciate you having me on. So,
yep. Thanks for your time.
All right.
Bye.